Welcome to episode 63 of the Hoop Threads podcast. We have been on leave for a minute. Been busy with basketball camps and high school live periods and summer leagues. And man, we've been all over the place, but very glad to finally have this guest on the podcast. What's up, Chad? How we living?
Man, we get to talk about hoops, so and we above ground, so we good.
Any day above ground is a good one. All right, so before we break into the last Scholastic Live period, let's just talk real quick and get some background on how you got started in this game. So, talk about your love for basketball, where it developed, and how you ended up writing for Prep Hoops and some of these other sites.
Well, my earliest memories of basketball are, elementary on the playground. And the first draft class I really remember is the '03 class, with LeBron, Melo, D Wade.
One hell of a
And
class.
and I remember like when you wore the jersey of the player, you felt like you had to play like him. Like if you had when I had my Carmelo jersey on, the baby blue 15 from the Nuggets, right? Like, oh, I was on. Like I just had to beast, and I had to hit the turnaround jumpers and everything. And I feel like I've really just loved basketball since then, and became more of a football guy throughout the years. But always watch the draft, always watch college, even if I never saw NBA games. I had to know who the top players in my area were, had to know who was going to sign at what college and then from there, who the young guys going into college and the league were. And, throughout different, endeavors career wise, 2020 hit, and it really felt like it felt like the right time, to just explore my interest in basketball in, a low stress setting, but still in some way that was fulfilling. And around that same time, Prep Hoops was expanding into Pennsylvania.
Mm.
And, it just kind of lined up perfectly for me, to be quite honest.
Mm.
And, a year and a half or so before that, I was working as a building substitute teacher at a school in West Philly. And a couple of my male coworkers were talking about high school basketball. One guy, his son was a freshman at Roman Catholic, and they were talking about this guy named Jalen Duren. So his son was Justice Williams, who's now at LSU. But like, yeah, they're two of the top freshmen in the city. They play. They just lost to Isaiah Wong and Bonner Prendy, and but yeah, they should make a run at the Catholic League chip. And so just sitting around talking with them, I'm like, all right, I got to start following hoops in the city, because I'm not from Philly originally, I'm from San Diego.
Mm.
So I start going to games casually, and like I said, so when 2020 hit and Prep Hoops was looking for writers in Pennsylvania, I had to jump on it, and been, in love with high school basketball in the city since then.
What type of long-term goals kind of do you have for yourself and your career? Is there any place you're trying to get to, any dream job, anything like that?
Honestly, no. This is, a kind of side thing / hobby for me, where I can study the game in a very kind of deep, intimate way. But again, for me personally, it's like low risk. You know what I mean? I I don't have to worry about screwing up somebody's development, but I can also, bring attention to different players in the area. Write about more than just how many points they scored, or say, oh, this player shoots the three, and this player plays defense. Really digging into those finer points of the game, and just using the game of basketball as a way to express myself, creativity creatively, and really use it as a one big thought experiment.
Mhm, mhm.
So
Okay, perfect.
writing.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into the high school scholastic period, the live period this past weekend. We were at two different ones. I was at, let me not mess this up, the Mid-Atlantic Independent Schools Shootout held at the Hunt School. So I have a couple standouts from there, as well as coaching / watching DMV live at the Mathis. So I'll have a couple standouts from that as well. Tell the people kind of where you were at this weekend or what you were able to check out, and then we will get into our questions.
All right. So the last 2 weekends, I was at Thomas Jefferson University in Philly for Philly High School Live 1 and 2, and then a couple weeks before that, I was at a event called Post and Pivot pre-live warm up. So just throughout the month of June, um, yeah, watching teams in the Philadelphia area.
Okay. All right. So let's get to the first question. So give me a couple of new names that popped for you this past weekend that weren't really on your radar.
Yeah, so the first guy is Dacier Haskins, 6'9" forward, class of 2023, and plays for Camden High, in South Jersey. Of course, that's the squad with DJ Wagner, with Aaron Bradshaw, aka Top Shelf, a slew of other guys. But for me, Dacier is kind of this rangy forward type where he provided some secondary rim protection as well as being able to match up on some smaller bigs and bigger wings on the perimeter, rebound, cleaned up the glass, just did the trench work for Camden, and I think he he should be getting a lot more attention than he is. He's definitely a mid-major, at the worst, a low major prospect. Um, Second guy is Jaden Harris from Potomac, Virginia. I think he's a Team Durant kid from what I looked up. He just came out the gates blasting. When I saw him this past weekend
Mhm.
here in Philly, 6'7", 2023 wing. He can put the ball on the deck. Crazy athleticism, and was really knocking it down from three. I think he averaged about 20 points in the games that Potomac played up here.
Okay. So for the new kids that popped for me, there are quite a few because I was at this live period event in New Jersey. Let's see. I'm gonna stick with some young guys that really stood out to me. 2025 wing Destiny Evans for Pennington School. Just had a really good motor, body, very aggressive on both ends, good finisher in the paint. Just played really hard. Like the motor always sticks out to me, especially at a young age, because if this is something that's important to you from an early on, it's likely going to be important for you down the line. And excuse me, that's rather important to me because I think motor typically translates to work ethic and caring, and just always seems to kind of boost what the kid's ceiling can be to me. So that was the first one for me, and then we'll also go with I'll keep those two for later. We'll go with Jeb Williams from Lawrenceville Prep. 2023 6'5" shooting guard. Just shot the absolute lights off this past weekend. Took shots off the bounce, off of movement, through around curls, around screens and stuff like that. I think he's a really good shooter, and he can put it on the floor well enough to where he can become a threat off the bounce as well. He's not just someone that you have to do a hard closeout on. So big fan of his game as well. So move on to question number 2, which is a favorite name or two that played well and boosted their stock this past weekend. What do you got for that one?
I have like 6 kids, but I'll just say two of the rising seniors. The first one is Zion Stanford, 6'5" wing, 2023 from West Catholic. Also plays with Kalo Elite here in Philly. And Zion has really grown his game a lot offensively. You know, he would on defense is where he really made a mark for himself early as just like bruising, physical, run and jump kind of kid who will pin your shot on the backboard, will get steals, hustle, will be your enforcer. Again, all at like 6'5", wing forward, forwardy kind of guy. But this year, or this summer, he's just shown a lot of growth. You know, catching it at the high post, catching it at the on the perimeter, spinning. You know, not really using a lot of dribble combos, but getting downhill in the half court, you know, really accessing that athleticism, you know, versus set defenses. And it's been scary, you know, it's been scary to watch him bring the defensive mentality to offense with skill. Another guy, 6'5" guard wing kind of kid is Isaiah Pasha. Really leaps and bounds. He's grown over the last year where he was kind of like a point forward, you know, when I first saw him, but he's turned into a killer scorer in isolation and can, you know, when they say score at all three levels, like he really does it. He can get to the cup to draw fouls. He can create his own shot from three. And he's also got some nice footwork in the mid range. And of course, he does it on defense with steals and deflections. And surprisingly, was one of the top 5 performers in the Catholic League, along with Zion Stanford.
Okay. Favorite name or two that played well and boosted their stock. I'm going to go very biased on the first two. Good flashes from 2024 forward Malcolm Thomas for DeMatha, 6'8". It's really good shot blocker, intimidates and kind of dissuades people from even entering the paint. Really active on the glass, good finisher on the basket. He's a lob threat. He's kind of playing in spurts right now because he's coming off of an injury. He's had some nagging injuries his first 2 years at DeMatha, but I really see him being a kid that has a lot of room for growth in his game. And as I alluded to earlier, he works really hard. And so I kind of give those kids the benefit of the doubt. Jaden Winston, also point guard for DeMatha, had 2 or 3 games this past weekend where he had 24, 25 points, had a really good stat line in a, some may say surprising win over Paul VI. Had a big game against them. I'm trying to find his stats right now. I don't really think the offers have kind of caught up with his performances in these events. He's been playing ridiculously hard. He had 20 points, 3 assists, 6 rebounds, 4 steals. And then in the next game had 17 points, 9 assists, and 6 steals in 20 minutes. Just plays really hard on both ends of the floor. Good leader, good facilitator. And he's been hitting some shots recently. And then the last one's also going to be biased. Ashley Sims for Archbishop Spalding. I think Ashley took another step forward. The first live period, second live period, he got kind of hurt. Played well before he did that. And he's been playing well in summer league, getting about 9 to 10 boards a game, can take kids off the bounce. He's been shooting well from the perimeter. 6'5", 6'6", 2024 wing that has a lot of upside. Malik Washington also played really well for us. And I mean, a kid that I really wish he had played this well against us, Chance Mallory from St. Anne's Belfield in 757 in Virginia. Against us, he had 11 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, and 5 steals with only 1 turnover. Just makes plays when it counts. Really efficient player. Finds his teammates. He can switch between scoring and facilitating really well. As you can see, he gets a lot of steals. He had 5 against us. really kind of makes things go for that stab team. Even though they got the big fella in there too, I got to shout him out. Carter Lang is really, really soft touch for a kid that big. I think really just kind of the movement skills as far as getting past guys is all that he kind of has to work on right now. That's the biggest glaring thing offensively, but he's got really good footwork in the post. He's got soft touch in the paint, can finish through contact, good lob threat, and then he can shoot it from the perimeter too if you give him enough space. So really liked him as well. And then one name real quick that I forgot to mention for the first question, kind of a new name that popped for me. It was a point guard from, let's see, Keenan Wilkins, 2024, 6-foot point guard with the Christ School. Really good offensively. The pace that he plays with coming off of screens, just gets really good looks for his team, can hit from the perimeter and can diamond as well. So let's move on next to a program whose culture. Oh, you got one?
Yeah, I wanted to shout out a couple of 2024 kids
Sure.
real quick. First is Jaden Kelly from St. Thomas Aquinas in Georgia. I mean, in New Jersey, actually. In New Jersey, 6'3", two guard. He really moved well as an off-ball shooter. See him, like I said, movement threes. When he was run off the line, he couldn't get open. He's cut back door, did all the little stuff that you don't really see at this level like that as an off-ball, or really for a scorer leading your team like that. And after first upsetting Numa Goretti, also upsetting Imhotep, two of the top programs here, talk to him, how about what he did to develop his game since the last time I saw him, really of last fall, and he's like, really just been watching Steph Curry and the Warriors, and it made sense the way he, and say he caught it and didn't have the shot, he turned into a secondary creator out, and the passing flashes were there too. So I really like that growth from him. And since I mentioned Newman Goretti, got to talk about Kafik Myers, 5'11" point guard, 2024, also runs with New Jersey Scholars. His backcourt mate Rob Wright, third, is getting all the love that he should be getting. Is rising up recruiting rankings nationally, and Kafik is, right up there with him in terms of just impact. Everything when you talk about a Philly guard or being from South Philly, Kafik is that. He's going to be your point of attack defender. He's going to get in your chest and really, take your starting point guard off of his game, and really a phenomenal passer. Get into the paint and seeing windows that other people can't see, as well as executing, some of the crispiest passes that you'll get a chance to lay your eyes on. So, like I said, real true Philly guard. Picked up an offer from St. Joe's recently. He's already got Temple, got a couple mid-majors, and I think he's really only going up from there.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to the next one, a program whose culture, chemistry really impressed you this weekend.
Got to go back to West Catholic, man. Like I said, Coach Boca Chica, he's really got his guys playing in a way you really don't see, where he comes out of that Andre Noble, Imhotep coaching tree, and played at Imhotep and everything, and so they're gonna run, right? They play that up tempo kind of Philly public league style, but in the Catholic league where they like to play it slower. And on top of that, they're probably in the weight room more than any basketball team you'll see in this area, where you might be able to run with them in the first half, but by the second, they're running through you, because everybody can't play that fast and that physical at the same time. And even if you want to slow the game down, they have enough skilled guys to to win that way as well. Again, so everybody from Zion Stanford, their senior wing to their senior point guard, 5'9" Bud Clark, the general to combo guard, also a senior, Shamar Wilbanks Aki, 6'3", also plays with Kalo Elite. All those guys they play unselfish, they
Mhm.
play fast, they're physical, and if you kind of walk in, half sleep, you gonna catch a beat down real quick, and they're gonna play that way the entire game. After they're up 20, they're gonna send in the underclassmen, and they're gonna play that way too.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
definitely, just love to watch them play. Love uh, just how they play together and move the ball unselfishly.
Yeah, and I mean, you can just really tell that they would do anything for him. They play ridiculously hard, play defense, do everything that he asks them to do. And as a coach, I mean, that's all you can ask for, man. We actually played against them last season at Spalding, and they were really tough. Thank God we had Cam Whitmore. So, um, I would say a program whose culture kind of impressed me the most. Um, hmm, I think I think I'm gonna give that one to the Christ School. Just how hard that they were playing for each other and for their coach, how they communicated defensively. They just are really kind of a gritty bunch with some kids that can really play that I think are a bit underrated on the national scene. And like I said, they're really plugged into what the coach has to say. So they definitely impressed me quite a bit. Let's go on to a class, I think kind of the last class that really got screwed over by COVID, 2023. Let's talk about some underrated D1 2023s that you saw this past weekend or just really like in general.
Yeah, so I just mentioned Shamar Wilbanks Aki, or Akwi, from West Catholic. Um, he's a Division I guard. Whether you want to play him, with another guard as a combo, or you've got a bigger wing that you want to run with him. Shamar can really score.
Mhm.
They call him WAP, WHOP, WAP. Um, yeah, and you know, oftentimes he came off the bench last season for them, but still brought it, and catalyst for offense on in the half court, and it's getting better as an actual point guard as well. And another kid, to mention from out in the county, Charlie Thornton, 6'5" wing from Radnor, also plays with Primetime Elite. Charlie has uh, grown a lot. When Radnor played Imhotep in the state playoffs, he was probably the only kid on Radnor's roster who could really keep up athletically. And, so just seeing him develop since then on offense, where, he's putting the ball on the deck and driving to the basket and, bashing on guys in the half court, you really don't see that,
Mm.
as well as getting more confident in his shot. Because when he takes the three, he's making them at a good percentage. Now it's about getting the volume up, and he brings it on defense, steals, blocks. He'll guard your best offensive player, as well as play off ball. Another kid um, was dealing with a nagging ankle, so he missed part of the live period, unfortunately. But he was going off earlier in the month at the post and pivot event. That's Nasir Washington from West Philly High, 6'3" combo guard. Um, Crazy, athleticism, again, in the half court and the full court for a guy only 6'3", and he shoots the lights out anytime, anywhere, whether it's off the dribble, or off the catch. He's a real problem in the half court. Um, Got to shout out Naeem Johnson from Mouth Civics and Science, 6'3". Another, I'm Philly guards, so I definitely got to show love to them, and when we talk about the pandemic as well as stuff with the transfer portal and extra eligibility, the guards are often the guys who end up going a level lower than maybe they're used to, for
Mm,
their talent. And so Naeem Johnson, growing by leaps and bounds, really physical, driving to the basket and getting his own shot. Ruben Rodriguez from Reading, team final red kid, was playing on the Puerto Rican U18 squad down in Mexico, and you know, ultimate. This speaks to Rick Perez and the Reading program, but also just Ruben as a kid who is going to do everything for you. Intangibly, he can also score. Doing improving as a shooter, get to the mid range, get to the cup, and he's got some ups at 6'1". But like I said, he's gonna rebound. He can grab you 5 to 6 a game. He's gonna get steals. He's going to um, make the right pass. Can play on and off the ball on both sides. And and then finally, a kid I saw for the first time over the live period, but I got to see 4 of his games because he played a lot of Philly Catholic schools. Is Cameron Piggy from Rutgers Prep and the New Jersey Panthers. 6'2". He was the catalyst, honestly, for them on offense. They had a comeback win over Archbishop Wood. They were in a dogfight versus Archbishop Ryan. They played West Catholic, and Cam was just you know unstoppable, damn near getting to the paint, and he just kept making big shot after big shot in every game. He plays with Jaden Collins, who's getting a lot of mid-major offers and stuff like that, and I think Cam is a good compliment to him. Like I said, scoring on the ball, um, whatever you need, he's going to do it offensively at the
mhm.
guard spot.
Okay. Um, I I hate to keep showing love to all these players that have beaten us recently, but I'm going to start with Tyler Perkins, guard from the Landon School. Was just named the MVP of the DeMatha Summer League. Just a really hard-nosed, just score. If you give him any sort of space in the perimeter, it's going up, and he's a really good shooter. I think he plays hard and can kind of get to his spots in the paint. Has a really good kind of just pump fake up and under lay with either hand. Um, really, really good rebounder for a kid his size. He might be all of 6'2", 6'3" max, but he really gets in there and boards, which you do not see shooters doing normally. Plays for Takeover National, which is Takeover's kind of B team. And yeah, he was the MVP for a reason. Summer League this year, he really balled out. He's picked up a couple offers recently from some high academic schools and some low majors. Expect a couple more to get involved. I think his recruitment will pick up a little bit of steam here. Also going to mention, I mean, I think he's a bona fide Division I player. I don't even think there's an argument, but Kachi and Zay. I hope I didn't butcher that pronunciation.
Yeah. And you gave the shorter version because the full first name is Onyekachi, but yeah,
Yeah.
Kachi and Zay, yeah, from
Yeah.
George School, right?
Yeah, from the George School, 6'8", 2023. He just built like a brick house. Plays really hard, blocks some shots, gets on the boards. I think he's got a lot of potential. I was told that there were some Big Ten schools for him in to see him earlier this year, Michigan
Mm-hmm.
State and a couple others that kind of stopped in. And I think it might not be a bad situation for him to, do an extra year in prep, kind of get some of the fine tuning of, the skill work as far as ball handling and shooting, to just kind of give him a couple more looks. But I think like with his body and how hard he plays, I mean, there's a spot in a lot of Division I rosters for a 6'8" kid that has kind of those physical tools. So
Oh, absolutely. I'm a Kachi believer as well. He really blew up, last year
mm,
on the AAU circuit running with final. And like you say, the athleticism, even though he's not as tall as you want him to be, he jumps out the gym and will literally, lay it all on the line. I saw them versus Trenton Catholic, during the high school season, just kind of random, out of conference, out of state game. They didn't have their starting kind of floor general in Chris Bliss. And Kachi had over 20 points, like you said, had like 15 rebounds, knocked down his free throws, and probably had 8 or 9 makes actually from free throw. Shot about 80% at 85. Yeah, so he's definitely got some offers, and I'm glad to see, he's still killing it out there.
Yeah, I mean, he has a good mix of Big Ten, ACC offers, A10s, Big East, some of the local schools. He's got Maryland, Iowa, Georgia Tech, St. Louis, St. Joseph, Seton Hall, Xavier, St. John's. So, yeah, I mean, he has good options. I did not want to disrespect any of them, but I do think as far as skill development wise, he could probably use another year. That's Kachi. And let's move on to the next question. So kind of names to keep an eye on, maybe they impressed you. You just need to kind of see a little bit more, or maybe they're young and, the athleticism or the body stood out. What are some names that fit that category for you?
It's funny because for this question, I really want to name a bunch of Philly kids, but it would be dishonest because I've seen most of the Philly area kids, and so even as they're gonna get better, they're not new, and I'm and I've definitely seen enough or to know that who they are and how good they are. So I wanted to shout out some Jersey kids who I got to really see for the first time. Hudson Catholic, point guard, 2025, 6 foot. Omari Moore, it's really hard to tell kids like, hey, I understand you want to, be like Allen Iverson, at least back from, our era, guys who want to do it all off the bounce and shake people. A lot of kids try that, but just aren't that guy. Omari is, lightning quick, can sauce you up and get to the cut. They almost, knocked off Imhotep, and I don't think Hudson Catholic has a kid over 6'4".
Mm.
But Omari, with the help of Tahad Pettiford, really just took that game into overtime and almost ran up out of Philly with a win. So yeah, Omari is nice. I'm gonna keep an eye on him. Then there's Darius Adams, 6'5" wing, 2025 from Manasquan. Real lanky, kid who probably needs to be in a weight room, and just on the seafood diet where whatever food you see, you eat it. But still growing, I think, just the way he's built. Really, really got it done off the catch. Like I said, lights out was for real. Couple freshmen actually, who haven't even taken a high school class. Ikenna or Ike Aluzi, 6 foot guard, 2026 from Camden.
Oh, he's tough. He's
Oh
so
my
tough.
God.
He is so good.
Yo, I saw him. They played Newman. Again, he's legitimately only 6 foot, but I saw him like it was like the cow jumping over the moon, where you just see him flying through the air for a rebound on the again on the court that's got 7 foot Ahmad Bradshaw, 6'9" Dacier Haskins, 6'8" Sultan Adewale from Newman, and it's just like what the hell, really wasn't asked to do much, but impacted the game in all the ways that don't show up on the stat sheet. Some of the ways that do, of course, the rebounds, the steals, the assists. He's next up at Camden, and they've got DJ Wagner and Sion Medley, but they're like, nah, Ike is up next. Believe that, So he's he's actually already gotten some starter minutes in these live period games. And then a kid named Chidi Nwigwe, 6'6" wing, 2026 from Bergen Catholic. You know, you see this long, lean kid, you know, and you think, okay, you think he looks nice, you know, maybe he's a junior, senior. No, he's a freshman, and he's dunking on folks, fast breaks, you know, grab and go. He's also hitting some off the dribble threes. And you know, Bergen Catholic played 2-3 zone in most of their games, but you know, he was definitely active and disruptive. So definitely, Chitty is going to be a guy to keep a watch out for on the East Coast.
All right. For me, for this question, the brain kind of automatically goes to young guys, so I'll kind of start there. Um, I'm gonna ask you for the. I'm gonna throw you the alley oop for this kid's name. What's Luke's last name on the George School?
Oh man, Luke Bevilacqua.
Bevilacqua. 6'11", 2025. Just good body. Finishes well around the basket. He's pretty fluid, you know, with the basketball. I think, you know, like his teammate Kachi. I think Kachi's a lot more athletic than him, but Luke, just a lot longer, soft touch in the paint. He's a lot more fluid and a lot more skilled, even at this young age. Really liked his game. Think he has a lot of upside. I mean, he's 6'11" already, and that definitely helps. Basil Laster for
Hmm.
Academy New Church was really impressive to me. Aggressive, great frame and size, you know, attacks and finishes well in the paint through contact. Just kind of had a relentless motor. In the last game of the day that I watched him and his team play, I think they had already played another game an hour or two before that. So just really enjoyed watching him attack the basket as hard as he was. On SCH, Patrice Feemster,
Hmm.
2026, 6'2", really fluid guard. Just right now, he's kind of attacking the basket. I think the jumper, I think he had a couple floaters in the paint, but a lot of his damage was done in the paint, even though I think he can shoot it a little bit. Definitely liked the offensive fluidity to his game. Defensively, I didn't really notice anything bad, but he didn't really stand out to me on that end. Another name, can't find his year and height on the roster. Of course, a lot of these places, the best player on the team is not listed in the book. Mike Ewing for the Petty School. Have really good wingspan, can take his man off the bounce, athletic, really good finisher through contact in the paint. He stood out to me. And then a couple names from DMV Live that I saw. Cade Sebastian, 2025 shooter from DeMatha. They're running sets for him pretty consistently. Elevator screens, side elevator screens, pin downs. He gets his shot off really quickly, and the shit is automatic. We really had them on the ropes like the entire second half, and he hit a bunch of threes to cut down the lead, and then eventually to give his team the lead at the end of the game there. Really like his potential. He's already 6'3" and growing, and he's not really a stiff. He moves pretty well, and he can handle a little bit, take guys off the bounce. Already mentioned Chance Mallory and Carter Lang. And yeah, so I got one more question for you. So this one's kind of a rule or implementation that you would support to boost the recruitment of 2023. So what you got for this one?
All right, so you know, the shot clock is kind of a universal one on your pod, so we don't have to go there. PA, we need a shot clock. You know, every AAU game, grassroots game, we need a shot clock. So one thing I would like to
Hold on,
see
real
is,
quick. Have
yeah,
you
yeah,
heard any argument against the shot clock that makes sense to you?
actually no. And I mean, I'm not going to throw any part of the state of Pennsylvania under the bus, but someone said, you know, on record, you know, we think the game is fine how it is.
Well, it would be better. All right. What's your other note on this one?
Honestly, I would we gotta limit or eliminate 2-3 zone, you know,
Jim Boeheim,
because
cover your ears, man.
right, and it's not that there's anything inherently wrong universally with 2-3 zone, but oftentimes, it's kind of inconsistent, and it also kills the possessions, I think, in the live period. So
Mm,
there's less up and down, again, less total number of possessions where you're getting to see kids get after it, less activity off ball,
mm,
and I think overall, we don't really get to see what kids are and can do. Oftentimes it's just, all right, we're not used to 2-3 zone, so we're kind of confused, and it's going to take us, these it's going to take us wasting these minutes during this evaluation period to figure out how to adjust on the fly,
mm.
and that can be a good data point, but during the live period, I honestly feel like we should be able to see these kids showcasing what they can do.
Mm,
And the 2-3 zone, I don't think we get an honest evaluation of kids and how they're going to play at the next level,
mm,
you know, whether they're in a 2-3 zone or facing a 2-3 zone.
mm, mm. Makes sense. All right, I lied. I got one more question for you. What's a message that you have for players as we go into the last, kind of couple weekends of AAU and events and showcases and stuff? What's your advice for, what they can do to stick out, maybe some little things that aren't done well by a lot of their peers that would make them stick out? What's kind of your message to some of these kids?
Um, play play the game the right way. You know what I mean? And it's kind of cliche when we use that phrase, but when you say it or when you hear it, you know exactly what we're talking about, right? Making the extra pass, um, hustling back on defense after a turnover, diving for loose balls, playing unselfishly overall, right? And also, like, part of that is, yes, you can get upset, at a bad call or something, but keep your head in the game, right?
Mm,
And there's a kid I really wanted to talk about, and I feel like I've been driving the fan bus for him. But, you know, for a game and a half this past weekend, he was, in his partly, in his feelings for part of the game because of, like I said, calls, teammates making mistakes, his own mistakes.
mm,
And it overshadowed his talent that oozes out of him. You know what I mean?
mm,
And again, we have Power Five coaches in the gym. I'm gonna be biased and say that we had the best live period event in the country here in Philly. So Calipari was in the building, Bruce Pearl, Rick Barnes, um, Coach Payne from Louisville, Danny Manning, his whole staff, Kevin Willard from Maryland. All these guys who play on national TV are in the gym. Why, so it doesn't just go for one kid. It's so a lot of guys where they get thrown off their game and either want to cry about calls or get frustrated and turn it into ISO ball,
mm.
where they're just doing too much. Like, no, just play basketball. Win, lose, there's no championship to celebrate in June. Play basketball. And most kids, especially at the higher levels, they know what that is, right? They know what playing the right way is. So get out of your own way and just hoop, man. Like, y'all get an opportunity to go to college for free or at least at a reduced cost, right? And doing something that you love that 99% of people who play high school ball will never get a chance to do. So play the right way and just hoop.
So my last question is kind of geared towards I always gear it towards, kind of what makes the DMV special, but I'm gonna let you put your Philly hat on for a second. 30 seconds or less. Give me your what makes Philly and their basketball players special.
You know that when you go against some kids from Philly, it's going to be gritty. It's going to be a dogfight. No matter what level of play it is. You know what I mean? What skill, you're going to get kids who play hard. You're always going to get good guard play. A Philly guard is going to be licking his chops every time you step on the court with him because it's like this is disrespect that you think you can hang with me. You know what I mean? You're not from where we from. So yeah, that Philly basketball, the grittiness, I love it,
Yeah.
and it's always fundamentally sound.
Yep. Yep. All right. So the last part of every podcast, I kind of flip it on you and ask if you have any questions to ask me. So let me know if you got something.
Man, so when I feel like I've listened to almost every episode, especially that's coming out in the last year. So
Appreciate that.
so what I'm trying to think, that's something no one's ever asked. You talk about what makes DMV ball, so great. And I went to Howard for undergrad, so I love the DMV. I got appreciation for hoops there.
Mhm.
You don't have to convert me to appreciate basketball from there. Um, and we be salty a little bit up here with just the national attention your guys get. Not gonna lie, but I'll put my Philly guys against your DMV guys. So can you just talk about maybe New York basketball? I know you're from there, Syracuse
Mhm.
guy, and what makes that basketball in that part of the country special?
That one's tough because I'm not from New York City. So it's a very different style of basketball. Upstate New York, we've had a couple ballers. Isaiah Stewart was the most recent one. Thomas Bryant that played at Indiana and then is
Mhm.
now with the Wizards. Um, Way back in the day, Marty Burns played for Syracuse and the Lakers. Trying to remember, we've had a couple guys on the mid-major and low major levels. That was kind of the first time that I was introduced to the fact that a lot of private schools are recruiting off of public school rosters, which is
Yeah,
an issue that I'm not overly fond of. Uh,
happens a lot here.
yeah, and I think New York City basketball. I think the history behind it, just kind of the playground. I'm coming at you to mess you up type mentality sets them apart. That the guards are going to be tough. You know that they're going to be able to really handle the ball. You know that they're going to guard you 94 feet. Um, I think I think that they've struggled. I talked to someone from New York City about this the other week. He said, well, we could be the Mecca if these kids didn't leave every year to go to prep schools.
Hmm.
And they didn't leave out of state to go to school in Jersey or go to school in, the Knapsack or,
Right.
play for Long Island Lutheran, which is in the IBC and not in, local gyms as much per se, um, which is a whole separate entity in and of itself. I think a message that I have to parents, just real quick, I'm gonna give them my soapbox. You
Oh,
need to
for sure.
understand that if you transfer to an NIBC school, yes, there's a lot of exposure, but there's no exposure for your kid if he's on the bench. So if he's playing, whether we had 2 5-star kids, now 3 5-star kids from the Baltimore area leave to play in NIBC, and one of them as a freshman was getting 30 plus minutes a game and cooking, and averaging in the 20s is always the standout for his team, getting all the shots in the world. His guys around him are playing defense for him. Just to be the fourth big off the bench at a big time school. I think players or parents need to understand that there needs to be a mix of opportunity and exposure. They need to understand too that the development piece of these kids and where they're at in the stage of their career is important. And you can't develop if you're not playing.
Look, I just told a parent the other day, you don't really develop on the bench.
Yep.
live game reps are the most important thing. Yeah, we want to win, and you want to win playing fundamentally sound basketball, like you said.
Mhm,
The prep school, um, the academy model, program isn't for everybody.
mhm.
And matter of fact, it's actually not for most kids.
Yeah,
But that's the flash that people see. That's oftentimes,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna sound like an asshole saying it, but I said it the other day. I think it's actually my pinned tweet right now. I mean, other places call themselves the Mecca, but prep schools are coming into our area every year to snag young talent. That just because it's better than what they have on the roster. And some guys it works out for, and we wish them the best of luck. But I mean, we still claim those kids, for sure. So
Well,
I
of course.
appreciate the time, brother. Let the people know where they can find you on social media and where they can find your written work as well.
All right. So doing well, most of my social media activity from Twitter, Cgram_sports. Might be talking a little trash, might be talking about football, my other favorite sport. But so really just trying to show love to kids from the Philly area, South Jersey and Delaware. It's got some hoopers too.
Mhm.
Shout out to Wilmington. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing on Twitter. Doing most of my writing at Prep Hoops, and actually working on a couple pieces for Cerebro Sports. Trying to include analytics and stats more into my analysis and just grow a little bit as a writer
Mm,
and scout.
absolutely. Appreciate the time, brother. And we'll catch up soon. All right.
All right, likewise, be easy.
All right.